So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here at the Shrine Room in Badeka Vihari, and thought to record a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. So I thought they could start with just a little meditation, so we can lean forward a bit and arch the spine, and look about 3 feet in front, and close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath, can know when it's coming in, and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if one breathes in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And can just pose the question in the mind. What would be a really comfortable way to breathe right now? And then one can just let the body respond on its own. And when practicing breath meditation, it can be good to keep mindfulness as continuous as possible, being aware all the way through the in-breath. As the in-breath turns to the out-breath, all the way through the out-breath, and as the out-breath turns back to the in-breath again. Trying to keep mindfulness as continuous as possible. And if the mind wanders off to the past or the future, you can just bring it back to the present moment, to the breath. And before we finish meditating, you can think thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. And can open our eyes and do a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So, hope that everybody's keeping well wherever it might be. And I've actually come back here to the main monastery for a few days, and then heading back again to the kuti. And was asked a question a while ago about Yoniso Manasikara. So, the question was, what is Yoniso Manasikara? I know it means wise attention, but what exactly is it that one is paying attention to? And so, in Buddhism, one might say that this Yoniso Manasikara is the thing that in many ways precedes a lot of the practices that one might do as a Buddhist. In other words, there's ways that one can attend to things that will make wholesome qualities increase, and there's ways that one can attend to them that will make wholesome qualities decrease, and likewise with unwholesome qualities. So, the Buddha's path is known as the Majjhima Patipada. It's a middle path. Middle path because there's ways that one can do things that would otherwise be good, but one can approach them and do them in such a way that they cause unwholesome things to arise. So for example, the 5 precepts are things which are good to keep very, very strictly. But there's ways that one can approach, say, keeping the 5 precepts, or the 8 precepts, or the 10 precepts, or the precepts of a bhikkhu, that will make one very nervous all the time and very stressed out all the time. So one has to attend, for example, to the precepts in such a way, one has to place one's attention on keeping sila in such a way that one keeps it strictly, but without becoming paranoid or really worried. So many young monks, maybe not most, will have an experience when they first take on the training rules in the Vinaya of being really, really worried about breaking them, and maybe going too far or becoming too worried about keeping them very, very strictly. So I mean, we want to keep them very strictly, but there can be a point where one worries too much about them, and it can be detrimental. So for this, it's very helpful to have senior mentors in the holy life who keep the Vinaya very strictly, but are also not paranoid about it. It's the best way to learn about the gray areas. So this Yoniso Manasikara, it basically is it couples up with appamado. It's kind of, appamado is this quality of heedfulness, or being very, very careful about what one does. One wants to make sure that one does things to the proper proportion, in the proper degree, that they're effective, and that they are basically effective in moving forward on the Buddhist path. So this Yoniso Manasikara is just a word, but what it really means is that there's ways that we can attend to things that are good, and there's ways that we can attend to things that are bad. And it seems like something very simple. But some of the defilements that operate in the backs of people's minds, they're things that cause us to suffer. We attend to them, and we know that they cause us to suffer, but we don't know how to let go of them. So one of the most common ones is this, maybe for people who are raised in a Western system of education, is this defilement of kind of worry. Worry and flurry. It's kind of udacha kukucha. Kind of worried about the future, maybe remorse about the past. And one of the reasons that this is difficult for people to let go of sometimes is because people feel that if they become too complacent about past actions that they've done that are poor, or too complacent about planning for the future, then they will either, in regards to the past, become somebody who's unable to correct their mistakes, or in regards to the future, somebody who's unable to avoid mistakes. So one may know people like this. There's guilt, or one may have experienced this oneself. There's kind of guilt about things that one has done in the past, and it's very difficult for one to let go of it. So this is a case of attending inappropriately to guilt. And kind of one is attending to the bad actions that one did in the past in such a way that unwholesome qualities increase. And kind of one feels very, very guilty, and as a result of the guilt, one can't do wholesome things in the present. It can be very crippling. It can be a very unpleasant emotion. One just is not able to think about what to do that's wholesome now because one is too focused on the past. In a similar way, when one tries to plan for the future, worrying about the future too much, then this is something that can lead to unwholesome qualities increasing. Because the future, especially depending which country you're in Canada, one can maybe do a lot of planning. Here in Sri Lanka, it's very difficult to plan for the future too far. So if one plans for the future too much, and the future does not turn out the way that one wants, and one has already invested all this time and energy in trying to make a future happen that doesn't come to be, then this can lead to a lot of stress, a lot of suffering. So there's a certain amount of attending to the past that's wholesome, attending to the bad actions that one has done that's wholesome. One develops a sense of shame, but there's also a tipping point where it becomes unwholesome. There's a certain amount of attending to planning in the future that's wholesome, but there's also a tipping point where that becomes unwholesome. So all of this comes under Yoniso Manasikara. One wants to attend to these things appropriately. And this is where the Buddhist path changes from being something that one just memorizes into a skill that one really has to practice. Because the conditions that give rise to either wholesome or unwholesome qualities are changing really, really frequently. Now, what's skillful to do in one situation can change if the conditions that underlie that situation are just slightly different. So for example, if one is a teacher trying to teach a student, then the same student on a different day may respond to advice given in a different way. The emotions on their face can show what they're able to accept or able to hear, or what the state of their mind is. And so if one is trying to teach them, then one has to be aware of these things. One has to have appropriate attention to see what it is that will help their wholesome qualities increase or unwholesome qualities diminish. So the Buddha calls heedfulness as appamado, the elephant's footprint, and that all wholesome qualities fit under heedfulness. It's basically the only thing one can't have too much of, that one can't go too far in, and in developing it too far or grasping it wrongly, then one can, it's basically the only quality that doesn't have a tipping point, more or less, into an unwholesome phase. They call them near enemies sometimes. And along with heedfulness, basically almost the same thing as this Yoniso Manasikara, attending to things appropriately, attending to them in the correct degree, so that one's wholesome qualities increase and one's unwholesome qualities diminish. Sounds like something really simple as a concept, but it's because the Buddha teaches this Yoniso Manasikara, it's because he teaches heedfulness, that there is this middle path. That there's this middle path to be developed as a skill, ideally under people who've developed it well themselves, so that one can get an intuitive sense of how to navigate these gray areas, so that one can get an intuitive sense of how to apply this Yoniso Manasikara, how to be heedful, how to weigh the scales, so that one's unwholesome qualities diminish and one's wholesome qualities increase. So this is one of the most important qualities that one can try to bring to bear on one's Buddhist practice. It applies from everything from meditation to being generous to keeping sila. All of them have to be done in the correct degree, in the correct degree, depending on the time and situation and place, so that one can move forward well on the Buddhist path. Okay, so leave that for reflection, and wishing everybody all the blessings of Dhamma practice.